You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Union 0430, episode 148. And as you can tell, we're a little light on the boys. Everybody's all over the place. But if you are a true waterfowl fan, then you know my guest. You know him. You've heard of him. You know the name. So we got Mr. Kile Jones coming to us all the way from the great state. I shouldn't say all the way because you're really just down the road, but from the great state of Michigan. Listen, yeah. So let's go through Kyle's resume here. So, marketing manager now for Apex Ammunition, the fast growing company, which is amazing. We'll get into that. Three-time World Goose calling champion. Once was team, but then twice
yep.
individual, right?
You got it.
And then you've worked with other brands like Momarsh and Dive Bomb. So you know you've been in the industry for a while. You're not some chump like me that's pretending to be somebody. So Kyle, buddy, thank you so much for coming on. I know how busy you must be, so for you to carve some time, and you're a fairly new dad too. So
yeah.
Hey buddy, I appreciate you taking some time out of your evening to come hang out.
Thank you for having me and for the introduction. You know, it's we aren't too far away from each other, come to find out, you know. So we're, I guess you would call us, bordering province and state. But she's and to go, daughter, she's 10 months old, about to be 11 months old in 2 days. So
wow.
We're closing in on
a year, man.
On a year. Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, I was picking up for dinner tonight, and my wife, she was doing bath time and stuff like that with her tonight.
Of course,
so
of course.
She loves the water, and just has a really great time. So it's the coolest thing ever. It is the coolest thing ever.
It is, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it today, and I was just sitting around and I was thinking about it. I'm like, how cool would it be that in 18 years, and hopefully it happens before then, but how cool would it be that your daughter gets on the stage to call?
Man, yeah, that it's definitely joked about and definitely something I've thought of, but it's also one of those, like, if she wants to do it, I'll help.
Oh yeah.
And I before before I got into competition goose calling and stuff like that, I was playing high level of baseball. And
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was kind of one of those things where it was just like kind of expected to to want to play, want to practice, want to go to hitting, and stuff like that. And granted, like it could have gone down another path as far as like education wise, but I hated it. And I know so many other people that hate baseball because of how they're not saying they're managed by their parents, but they've just that's just the expectation is travel ball and stuff like that. So we've both discussed it many times, because it gets brought up on occasion, is what do we want to do if she wants to compete? And if she wants to compete, hey, I will, I'm not gonna force her to do something, because I see it in the competition world too. Is,
of course,
I see dads pushing their kids, and it's like, okay, well, after the junior contest, they don't compete anymore.
That's right.
Because they're just done. They don't want to compete because they were drug across the country to every single contest. They were, winning every single contest under the sun up until they're 16, and then they got to go against guys like Hunter Grounds,
Mm,
Robbie Iverson, Mike Benjamin,
yeah.
and Trevor Shanahan and all those guys. And it's like, they get beat one time or twice, and it's a pretty good licking, and
Mm-hmm.
they just shy away from it. And it's unfortunate to see, but they grow to hate the sport more than they love it because they're just being forced to do it.
Yeah.
So,
No,
um,
I get it, buddy.
you know,
I done um I did to my kids sort of kind of what you're talking about when it came to hockey.
okay,
Um, at a young age, 3 years old, put him on skates. You know, he was good at,
yep,
good at three. He could skate. He could skate really well. He couldn't do nothing with the puck, but he could skate very well. Um, but it wasn't fun for him, right? Because I was making it a job more than it was fun. So he
sure,
just looked at me one day and he was like, I don't like it anymore and I don't want to go. So now my son is 13. Um, and my son is that asshole kid that was good at every sport. Like he's not phenomenal,
yep,
but every sport he plays, he's good at.
yep,
Well, he's 13 now and he's just getting back into sports.
okay,
And he's picked sports that I have no knowledge of. So
yep,
he's playing basketball and football, which I have no knowledge of whatsoever. Um, and I think that's the reason because obviously he likes sports, but if I have no idea what's going on, I can't be coaching him. I can't be telling him, hey, you're doing this wrong or whatever. So he's just
right.
doing it. So yeah, I totally get it, buddy. I do. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. He's getting into sports that aren't, because a lot of times it's like, there's a comfort zone and a comfort
Hmm.
level. And it's kudos to him, being
Yeah.
13 years old. He's willing to be like, I want to try football or I
Yeah.
want to try basketball. Like that's tough because like
Yeah.
then you're like, as a, I mean, from your standpoint, you're like, I don't even know how to, I don't
Yeah.
even know how to call plays. Like,
Well, I don't know the rules.
yeah. And so it's like, it's pretty cool to see him step out of his comfort zone for both you and I guess for
Yeah.
him too. It's pretty cool, man. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And then my daughter plays a pretty good level of soccer, which totally foreign to me. I was a hockey player. I played hockey and ball. So I
Yep,
know ball.
yep,
I wasn't great at it, but I played it. Hockey was my sport,
yep.
um but my kids, yeah, they just went opposite directions of me and obviously I think the reason is well, dad don't know nothing about it and he got to keep his yap shut. Uh
Yeah,
ultimately I think
yeah,
subconsciously that's what the
yeah.
decision led to. So,
Hey,
hmm,
all
well,
right.
yeah,
Well,
all right, man.
well, dude.
But you are right, Carl. Like it is a pretty amazing job to have to bring in a little person into the world and be able to watch them and especially that first year.
Oh yeah.
That first year there's so much exploration going on and every day there's a new thing, right? So
She's testing her boundaries right now. She knows she's not supposed to go play in the dog bowls and
hmm.
slap the water around, and she's doing that while we fed her dinner first, and then we set her down and then it lets us eat dinner, and she knows, like, she tries to skirt her way around all the way to the dog bowls and is testing it out. And she was crawling, and now she's walking everywhere, and now she knows, if she gets into something she's not supposed to, she like looks at you and then just
Oh
starts
yeah.
like trying to run. And it's been cool, man. It's been really cool. I've loved kids. My brother's 10 years older than I am, and he had kids. He had a couple kids fairly young, and so I grew up 8, 9, 10 years old and having
Oh,
little babies around. So
right.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, so it's just the coolest. Everybody said, everybody that has said it is the coolest thing, fatherhood is the coolest thing ever, was
Hmm.
absolutely right. And they were 100% correct when they say it goes by fast too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like you look and it's already been a year, man. I can't,
Oh yeah, buddy.
you got a 13-year-old boy and
Yeah.
how old's your little girl?
My daughter's 16. Yeah.
Okay, so you're just sitting there just like it goes it goes by fast. And I'm
Dude.
sitting here almost 11 months into it and I'm saying that, it's
Yeah, man. And not to one up you by no means. But I'm happy for you that you're experiencing everything for these first 11 months. My daughter was 3 months old when I deployed to Afghanistan for
yeah,
7 months, right? So I missed pretty much that first, like I missed the first Christmas and I missed a lot of firsts, right?
yeah,
Now I didn't with my son. I got to see all those things with my son, but yeah, man, like it goes by super, super fast. And the funniest, I got a funny story. I had to tell you this. So when we found out my wife was pregnant and we went to go find out the sex of the baby, and of course I was like, well, I'm hoping to have a boy.
yeah,
And so we come to find out that the ultrasound said that we were having a girl, and I go back to work, and a sergeant of mine, a buddy of mine, says to me, he said, "So did you find out the sex?" I said, "Yeah, we're having a girl." He said, "Are you bummed out about it?" I said, "Well, kind of. I was sort of kind of hoping to have a boy."
yeah.
And he's some of the best advice I had ever heard. And he had said to me, he said, "Buddy," he said, "I'm going to tell you something. You give a little boy a hockey stick, something's getting destroyed. You
Yeah.
give a little girl a hockey stick, she's going to learn how to play hockey." And buddy, it was one, and I it is the most truest bit of advice I've ever gotten in my life, because
Yeah.
it is factual that that's exactly the way it went down to.
Yeah. That's
So
cool, man.
yeah.
That's cool. I found myself like with when she was, when my wife was pregnant, we could never we didn't do the blood testing.
Right.
We could never tell in the ultrasounds. And I was like, what do you want? Like what she
Mm-hmm.
kept asking me, and I was like, honestly, like I would be ecstatic if I had a little boy, but I think I want a little girl.
Yeah.
And she like looked at me for a second and was like, "You." She has no idea that the teddy bear I'm about to become, little girl comes into the world, because
Big time. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you have, especially all your buddies that know, all my friends around here and kind of across the country, they know like I'm an intense guy, like when it comes to hunting and
Yep.
preparation and all that stuff, right? I mean,
Yep.
it led me down the career path that I am.
Yep.
And but they're like, man, you're gonna be so disappointed if you got a little girl. I'm like, nah, no, I'm
Mm-mm.
good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
She'll be
Absolutely.
hopefully she wants to get into it and starts going hunting with me, because I
Mm-hmm.
would, there's plenty of days where I'd just love to go out, just me and her, and
Mm-hmm.
if I shoot a goose, I shoot a goose. If I don't, it's all good,
Yeah. I
So
don't I don't force it. I was trying to, at around, I don't know, probably at around 9, 10 years old, to
yep,
get them to come. Um, and they would, and they enjoyed it, but it wasn't like they didn't have that passion, right?
for sure.
So I leave it now. My son will come to me and he'll be like, "Are you hunting tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going." And it's not so much, and this is what I've noticed about my son. It's not so much about the hunt with my son, like he could, because he's not shooting, right? He's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the company that I bring with me. So there's a couple fellas that give him a bit of attention, and they sort of kind of fool around and joke with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if those guys are going with me, then he wants to go. He
Oh yeah.
he he doesn't really care so much about the hunting. It's the company of people that's going to be there, and if someone keeps fooling with him and picking on him and shit like that, right? Like that's what he really likes. He likes to be able to go and hang out with a bunch of men, and when they sling shit at him, he slings it back at them, and
Yep.
I think it makes him feel a little bit older than what he is, and he really enjoys it. But I
No.
tell you, the one thing that he will do with me is if I go into trade shows or traveling around, he's with
Yep.
me
That's cool.
100%. Yeah,
That-
100%. He's with me all the time on that.
Heck yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Um, So listen, we've got a few. There's a bit of stuff that I really wanted to pick your brain on, Kyle.
Yeah,
And
man.
we sort of kind of talked on the fatherhood thing, which and you sort of touched on it when you said you're intense. Like when you've got to be intense. So, and this goes for anybody that's in competition, anything. If it's competition baton swirling, it doesn't matter. You have to be intense in order to be good. In order to be the best, you have to be intense and you have to be committed and the whole bit, right?
Yeah.
So you sort of kind of touched on it when you said, I'm intense when it comes to this in my preparation and getting up on stage, and then career wise, and then marketing and all that stuff. You got to be wired tight for that. But then it's a balance, because now you and your wife have been together, but that balance was one thing, but now you've interjected a child in there that you want to spend time with,
Oh
you
yeah.
want to hang out with, but yet you still have this intensity that you want to get out, you want to hunt, you want to do the things that you normally did. So it's a balancing act now, right? And I guess what I'm getting to is that a lot of times I see a lot of young hunters now, or a lot of people that are getting into hunting, even if they're getting into it in their late teens, early 20s. It seems like that they think that they need to have this incredibly high level of, well, I need to have the best gear, I need to have the boat, I need to be this, I need to be that, I need to be. Listen, no, you
Yeah.
don't. Not at all. Just get out, do it, and then get out, do it, but don't sacrifice your family time, I guess, is sort of kind of the thing I'm getting at here.
Yep. Yep.
Like I think social media and YouTube and all these things. And listen, we're a brand where we rely on it. And I'm definitely not going to bite the hand that feeds me.
Yeah.
But
there's a
um,
there's a lot of added pressures. Like if you say, all right, and this is kind of where the social media is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Is like, well, social media, you've got this perception of a dude that gets like, we'll use limits as a
yeah,
word, right?
yep,
You've
yep,
got this perception as, oh, that dude goes out all the time and he's shooting his limits, right?
yep,
So
yep,
then you add in the family factor of it, and it's like this perception of, well, this guy's got to continue to have that like is what
yeah, yeah.
what
Is what?
matters to him,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
is it that perception of, hey, like guy disappears on social media and just like completely becomes a family man, like, and goes out every once in a while, does his deal in a goose field, and or is it the guy that, his wife's the one that's giving him a hard time leaving to go goose hunting because he feels
yeah,
the need to, like, is that kind of what you're getting at right there?
yeah. Sort of, kind of, but the biggest thing is what I'm getting at is that the social media makes you think, in order to be considered successful,
Oh, you have to have that kill
you
shot.
you have to be out,
Yes.
you have to have limits, you got to be using the best gear, you got to be out every day. No, you don't do what
No.
makes you happy. Like, this is the thing that, and I know Bobby Hayes, but like Bobby Hayes is a good buddy of mine, and we talk a lot, and these are things that we talk a lot about, is the social media, and how there's this perception within the waterfowling world that, well, if you're not doing 5-man limits every day, well, then you're doing it wrong. Well,
Oh yeah.
who says?
Oh
Who
yeah.
who
Exactly. Who said that?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Who is what? Where at in? Where was that established? Like it was
yeah,
a rule. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
and to be honest, I mean, I think it comes through, and I've thought about this a lot. I think we all go through stages as a waterfowl hunter, as a deer hunter, as a turkey hunter, right? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
like waterfowl hunting, you first get into it and you're starting to learn the game. So then you're kind of that newbie, that
Mm.
beginner. right? That's like figuring out the calls, figuring out how to get permission and getting the right spread together. And then you turn into this guy that is like only goes hunting if you're gonna shoot limits,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then it's a cycle. It's a big cycle, right? That or
Mm-hmm.
like I guess like a roller coaster
Mm-hmm.
of you associate yourself with those types of folks that only want to go shoot limits,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the end result. That's what
Mm-hmm.
you want. But then you turn into this guy that's like, you know exactly what you're doing and what when it comes to goose hunting, how to hide, how to set a decoy spread, what to say, when to say it when you're calling, and you're able to shoot your geese. But it's not like if you just shoot one, it's like,
Yeah.
I was out, I took, I was out, I had a good time, got to watch my dog work, and then it turns into this dad, right? That's
Yeah.
just trying to teach those ropes. And teach your son, and then that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Is you don't care if you shoot a goose. I
Mm-hmm.
want my son to shoot a goose,
Yeah.
or at least shoot a
Your
box of shells. Hey,
yeah, your goals change, right?
yes,
I'd be lying if I said every day I go out, I'm trying for limits every day I go out. But it doesn't it but if I don't get a limit, and there's a lot of days that I don't,
yeah,
it doesn't make it a bad hunt. It just,
yeah,
well, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Is the birds, was it the birds or was it me today? Sort of kind of deal, right? Like that's the thing I like about it is that, and I've heard so many people say it to me early in my hunting career, for lack of a better term, is that you'll learn every day. And I was like, oh yeah. That's just some old fella saying it, but it's true. Like I honestly do learn something every day, and it's usually because I made a mistake.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
No, that's a huge an important learning factor there is like once you accept that, I think is whenever it's like, okay, you're cool with it. Because like, dude, there was a time where if me and my buddies went out hunting and didn't shoot a limit of birds, like that was a failure. Like
Yeah.
that was a failure. That hunt sucked. Like this
Yep.
was stupid. This was a waste of a day.
Yep.
And now it's like, hey man, like, and this is kind of where the intensity level, right? The
Right.
intensity level is here, but the expectations level
Yeah.
is down
Exactly.
here,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, okay, the intensity level is unmatched, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hide, the scout, the decoy spread, the calling, that we have controlled every single thing we can control,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
And then it just is like, well, the geese were pricks today.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what it was. Or
Yeah.
the ducks, they didn't fly.
Yeah.
Or weather, we got
Mm.
no wind, so all of our geese just sat there, spun, and
Yep.
dipped out.
Yeah.
Or they sit there and spin, and they land 100 yards away from you because there's nothing directing them,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So
The work ethic is still there. It's just the expectations on the end of the day are
yeah,
totally different, right? But the work ethic is still, you're still putting the time in,
yeah.
and
Well,
so
I think that's like it's kind of one of those too. It's like whenever you're controlling everything you can control, you either know you're going to wax that ass, or
mm,
it's just going to be like, huh,
yeah.
it is what it is. We'll go
Mm-hmm.
again another time.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's where the realization now with a lot of guys is like those are the type of guys I want to hunt with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's just like there's no pressure, there's no like weight on your shoulders to try to get these guys a limit, right?
Right.
Or like say, you were to come down here in a turkey hunt with me, I'm like, man, I'm starting to stress because I'm like, man, I want to get this guy a bird and stuff. Like
Right.
whenever like you're thinking in your head and you're like, man,
Yeah.
I just hunting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The same thing if we were to come up to
Yeah.
Canada, go goose hunting, I'd imagine there's gonna be some weight on your shoulders because you want to,
Absolutely. Of
but it's
course.
like we're under the same like thought process of like, man, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't,
Yeah. But
it's
but
still
it's
cold beer in the cooler. you
Yeah,
know?
but it's your hunt, and you want fellas to have a
Yep,
good time, and I get it.
absolutely.
I totally do. I totally 100% get it. It's
Yep,
funny though, when you look back at it, and you're right. There are these stages, right? There's maturation as a my early days hunting are very different. I grew up on the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, where we didn't have a huge flight.
yeah.
Um, it was all saltwater ducks.
A lot of
So
black ducks.
a lot of black ducks. But and nobody called, nobody had camo. It was like pond hopping, more or less. You know what I mean? So we didn't have high expectations. If we came home with a with a pair of ducks, like
Yeah,
that was a successful day. If you came home with two ducks, like a
yeah,
very successful day. But then when I joined the military and I came to the mainland and all this stuff, well then that's when social media and the ages of the DVDs, like that was insane. When you're watching Stahl and those guys, they're just piling and piling up on the birds. You're like, whoa, what is going on here, right?
yeah.
Like it was just crazy. It was crazy times, man. But yeah, that it is. It's nuts how everything changes and what the most important thing is to you. Now, I will say though, I, I wouldn't say I'm intense when it comes to the scout. Like I'll put the work in, but I wouldn't call
Right.
myself intense. But um I don't have a whole lot of time for people that are
Yeah,
very
that don't want to
wishy-washy.
scout.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that don't want the scout, or just like, fuck it, we'll just do it. No, I'm not just
yeah.
fucking
No, and
doing it
that
for the
I
yeah.
think I think as a dad, that is what angered me more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after this waterfowl season, I'm thankful to have hunted with quite a few of the guys that I hunt with. And, one of my best friends, he's the best man at my wedding. Like
Yep.
that's who I want to go goose hunting with.
Right.
Right. But outside of that, like, man, like I if I get a phone call or if somebody says they've got birds, in a field, we should hunt that. I'm like kind of leery about it
Of
because
course.
I don't want like I have a whenever, September, I mean, she's 3 months old, right? I don't want to spend time away from her.
Yeah.
And nothing's gonna irritate me more than a half-assed hunt. That's where that
Yeah.
intensity level is
Yeah.
good, but it's also bad
Yeah.
because it's like, man, I just you want to control all the controllables, and you're looking at the
Yeah.
the the list of controllable items, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we're not taking control of, and you're just like it just starts to drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, you're just sitting out there twiddling your thumbs, wasting your time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
that is what honestly like angers me more than anything. With it, waterfowl, turkey, anything like that, man. It just is like, man, just put in the work,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna have anything to complain about, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you don't put in the work, you're like, oh, maybe I should have scouted a little bit harder. Like, okay,
Yeah.
sweet, just wasted four
Yeah.
hours of my life out here.
Yeah. So, and this is going to be a very short topic because I love ducks and geese.
Yeah,
I'll hunt turkey. I'm not fascinated with turkey. I'll hunt it. So, but here's my question with turkey
yeah,
with you. So when it comes to scout, so the only way I've ever turkey hunted is scouting and putting the bird to bed at night.
yep,
So I watch where the bird roosts. Mental note, yeah, I got to walk in this way. This is where I'm going to be. I'm going to sit down here. He should come down, walk across me.
yep,
Got it. And I haven't shot a lot of turkey, but when I have, that's what I've done, and it's worked for me.
yep.
When people tell me skunked again on turkey, and I'm like, well, like did you put them to bed? Well, no, I don't do that. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
what are you doing then? Like if you don't know, like, so what you're saying is you're just going for a walk in the woods and hoping something by
yeah.
chance comes across. That's the way I view it. And I don't want to sound like an asshole when I say that, But
Mhm.
that's just the way I think. I'm just like, well, if you don't even know if there's a turkey there,
Yeah.
then what are you doing? I don't know. Like,
Oh,
to me, you can't get upset if you don't see a turkey if you didn't
if
scout.
you didn't, yeah. Well, I think there's when it comes to scouting and then knowing the scouting just doesn't take part like first thing in the morning or in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I try, during if I can get a break away from work or something, like I try to go hit my scouting loop like midday,
Yep.
just kind of see what those turkeys are doing. Because if I know where they kind of get into
Mm-hmm.
midday, and I know especially those 10 to 2 longbeards, right?
Yep.
The ones where they're not with their hens anymore, so they're just looking, they're
Mm-hmm.
looking for another hen to go breed. So if I know where they're at or kind of an idea, like that helps with a lot of the success too. But a
Of
lot of the
course.
times, I scout a lot, put a lot of birds to bed. I know
Mm-hmm.
exactly where they're going to be at for the next
Yep.
morning. So it's just kind of one of those, there's been times where we go into some areas blind, but it's like you have to get there early enough to where you wait for the woods to wake up
Right.
and then you make your move off of a
Okay.
goblet.
Yep.
Because like a lot of times, I mean, I'd imagine where you're at is fairly similar to where I am.
I would
We
think
got
so.
big ag,
Yep.
small little woodlots
Yep.
littered, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
like half mile away is your next woodlot. That might
Mm-hmm.
be 10 to 20 acres big,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be at that woodlot because that's the only place they can go,
Yep.
right? You need to be at that woodlot before they can make you out in the field. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
because
I get you.
they can see very well
Oh
early,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially you get early May in Canada. I'd imagine it's the same way. It's the same down here. There's
Yep.
not a lot of foliage on the trees.
No, none.
So
Hardly.
those
Yeah.
turkeys there, they can see you a long ways away. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got at least get to the woodlot,
Yep.
right? Before they can in the dark. Like you got to be out and then sit and wait for them to wake up, and then you can kind of move, right? Where it's like they saw you 200 yards ago, and now they're not going to gobble because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
watched you walk up under it, and
Yep.
so I think that has a lot to do with it, and patience. I mean, I'm sure you've seen patience will kill more turkeys than anything, right?
Big time.
It's guys are not patient enough when it comes to turkey hunting. And I think that's the biggest they don't hear gobble or they don't get a bird, gobbling right away. I mean, there's been birds that I knew I could see them.
Yeah.
They're 15 minutes every 5 to 10 minutes in my I typically set like a little alarm or like a little buzzer on my phone to let me
Yeah.
know because I'll call too aggressively,
Yeah.
right? So I'll just be like set my timer so I know every 10 minutes I'm good to go. I can call again, right?
Oh
So
wow.
so so I've had birds that sit there 20-25 minutes hearing every single thing that I'm doing. They pick their head up, they listen, they go in a strut, and they go
Yep.
back down, and then they gobble. So, and a lot of guys, if they wouldn't have heard that turkey gobble within
Yeah.
the
They would.
first,
Yeah.
they would have left
Yeah.
because they would have thought that bird there's no birds there or they're
Yeah.
just not coming.
Yeah. Good point.
So a lot of times the patience is what is going to kill those turkeys. And you just got, especially up where you're at. You do get those little woodlots that
Mm-hmm.
are that those turkeys, that's the only place they're going
Yeah.
that
That's right.
at night and
Yep.
during the daytime when they're not out in a field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it warms up like it was this past 2 weeks where it's hot,
Yeah.
right? It's 80 degrees outside. Those turkeys go into the shade and they just sit there.
Yep.
So a lot of times it's like, man, if you just sat there, there's turkeys there, you're probably going to shoot a turkey,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just how it is for a lot of guys. If they don't kill a turkey, it's just because they're not patient enough. I know my buddy that that I was just telling you about, my best friend, my best man at my wedding. He if he 8 o'clock in the morning, he's texting me. He's like, "Oh, I left already." You know, he's not a intense turkey hunter. You know,
Yeah.
he can get it done, but he's just, you know, if it doesn't happen by 8 o'clock, he's out. You
Yep.
know, so and you know, it's just one of those. I know there's a lot of people like that.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
it's
we're we're like it for geese, like 10 o'clock
mhm,
with geese. If it haven't had if it haven't happened by like 10, that's it. Like, all
yeah,
right, time to call it, boys. That
yeah,
ain't happening. Today is not the day.
yeah.
We're doing something wrong, or the Almighty is screwed with us somehow. Is just not happening. Call.
No,
Oh, go
go
for
ahead.
it, buddy.
So now, you know, now to kind of touch on that a little bit more, like, granted, a lot of the stuff I hunt down here is a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know a bird has got down and gone the opposite direction, it's probably on the other property that I cannot hunt. So I just then that's you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
there's several variances,
Yeah.
right, to
Of
this,
course.
but that's just scratching the surface of one of those variables,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No.
So
No. Good point. Actually, I've seen so my last two turkeys that I've got, and my son have come along with us, and so we've been spoiled. So we got a buddy of ours, that he manages some property, and it's just crazy the amount of turkeys that's around.
yeah,
So we'll go there we'll meet him at like midnight, um hang out in the shed, drink some coffee, stuff like that, and then we literally hop in a golf cart, drive down the road,
yeah,
and we go, okay, this is where we're going to set up, park the golf cart, and
yeah,
then just wait for them to wait for the world to come alive, and
yeah,
then like we're done in a half hour. The last two totally spoiled, and the worst, so that's fine for me because I realize that we're spoiled, but now
oh,
my
yeah.
son thinks
That's turkey hunting.
that's
Yeah,
how turkey hunting is, right?
yeah.
And I'm like, no, buddy, we're really lucky that Jamie is taking
And
us along.
I've
That
got a I've got a very similar story. There's a young man. He just graduated high school, actually. Back when I was working for Higdon and Momarsh,
Yeah.
um, I was doing strength and conditioning and speed and agility on the side.
Okay.
So one of my clients came in and talked about hunting a little bit, but I could tell he had never gone a whole lot. Like, he'd gone a
Right.
couple times, but just wasn't like into it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we get to talking, and in Kentucky, the youth hunt is the first weekend, or I was actually in Tennessee. Sorry, we hunted in Tennessee, lived in Kentucky. So in Tennessee, the youth hunt is the first 2 weekends of February. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a ton of birds around, they're plumed out, and Kelly Powers is like, well, take Landry out and hunt on my duck farm. I was like, perfect. There's not
Yeah.
going to be anybody else out there. And it's been a refuge for the past 2 weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
great. So we go out there, shoot our ducks. Well, he shoots his ducks. And then a couple months later, we go out and he's like, hey, do you think we can go turkey hunting? Because I'm still training him at this point, still. And so he's like, can we go out turkey hunting? I'm like, dude, yeah, absolutely. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. You're gonna have to get up with me and go scouting. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick you up and we're gonna go scout. He's like, okay, yeah, no problem. And I was like, you're gonna have to get permission because it's your hunt. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get permission for you, you
Yeah.
know. And so he got permission on 2 different spots and went with me and scouted. Well, 2 days, 2 hunts, there's 2 dead turkeys.
Yeah.
The next year, 2 days, 2 hunts, 2 dead turkeys.
Oh wow.
And then he comes out to Washington to hunt with me out in Washington. And I mean, it was like perfect weather, perfect conditions, 49 mallards, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm sitting there in my truck right after I dropped him off at the airport. I'm like, man, I ruined this kid.
Yeah.
Like, I completely ruined this kid because he's like,
This is what he's
he's
going to
he, you
expect.
know, like he loves it, but I was so, and granted, like, it's been a couple years now, so he's got his own truck, he's got his own boat, he paid for it himself, so he's like, you know, he's scouting in his truck, scouting in his boat, you know, he got his own dog now, so granted, like,
Wow.
he's got he's fully invested into it at this point. But those first couple seasons, you could just tell he was like, so can we go hunt together? Because it was like a struggle because he didn't know, like he just thought it was, that's what he thought it was going to be like.
Yeah.
And now he's learned, he's grown up a lot, so I'm proud of him for that. But I was like, man, I completely spoiled this kid and ruined him. He's
Yeah.
gonna think if you don't shoot a limit of birds or if you don't shoot a turkey, it's a failure. So again, it's the starting of that cycle that we were
That's
just
right.
talking about earlier.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's
No,
good for him
absolutely.
though. It's
Yeah,
good for
no,
him.
absolutely. Excuse me. So, Carl, I did want to talk to you about Apex
Yep.
because, you know, so first off, and I say it all the time, and I've talked to Heath about this, and Bobby Hayes and I have talked about it. The photography that you guys have for your social media, and I say it every time I see a picture, because every time there's a new picture on
Yeah.
Apex, it's like the best picture I've ever fucking seen.
So I'll say, and I've had quite a few multiple conversations about our content in general, right?
Yeah,
Our main content guy, the guy that does video, the guy that
yeah,
does photos, that's Jared. That's
yeah,
one of the founders of
yeah,
Apex, right? And he learned how to take photos and videos because they had actually hired a guy um, to do it a long time ago.
yeah.
And he was just kind of like slow to produce things. And
Right,
so Jared told him, he's like, hey man, like I've got a job for you, but the way that you're acting, like, don't make me learn how to do this. Right.
right.
So, because now you see where Jared's at, but the reason that it's always the best photo that's out there is that's his company,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's his heart and soul. That's on the line.
yeah.
That we've got this standard, right? And anything below that is just unacceptable. You
Buddy,
can't,
there
you
is there's some pictures. There was one taken last year, and I'm gonna say it was on big water.
yeah,
And it was a gray day, and it was on big water. It was just you could tell it was just a miserable, sucky day, right? But
yeah,
and I remember looking at the picture and I was like, holy shit, man, like this is like if you could capture what a duck hunt was. This is a duck. It was just I love it. But anyways, on to the Apex thing. Like you guys are growing, you're growing fast. Like growing
yes,
fast, and you're putting out a great product that
yeah,
and I've yet to use it. I'm
yeah,
hoping I'm gonna use it soon. Because like Keith said, getting ammo in the Canada, it's easier to get ammo in the Kandahar, Afghanistan than it is in the Canada.
yeah.
And I believe that. So, but like from a Canadian, sitting back and watching your social media and watching you guys grow, like you are growing fast and
Yeah.
you have a lot of momentum right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've kind of got our foot on the gas, and it's just kind of there's a lot of, and it's, in the turkey realm, we are very, very strong.
Yeah.
And the waterfowl world is one we were fairly okay in. Like the
Yep.
people that shot our product before, they liked it, it had seen good results with it. But the waterfowl we've got a lot of ground to make up in the
Yep.
waterfowl grant, and I'm excited for that because
Oh
there's a lot of
yeah,
people
I bet.
that I'm excited to see and introduce the product to where that's they're experiencing what we've been seeing for the past couple years. So yeah, we are definitely growing very, very quickly, and it's a blessing, but it's also like there's a couple little growing pains here and there too. Every
Of
business
course.
has them,
Yeah, of course.
but it's definitely something that we fully intend to keep our foot on the gas and keep going forward because it's been pretty cool to see so far.
Yeah, I bet. And so obviously I've got a little bit of love towards it because it's a veteran owned
Yeah.
business. But and you sort of kind of talked about it when you said Jared when he's doing his photography, like this is his business and he's part owner and stuff like that. But from a marketing side of things, like when those guys you know, their expectations of you, because it's their business, like they've got some high expectations of you too, right? Like
Oh yeah.
yeah, like this isn't a fucking a
Yeah.
walk in the this isn't a walk in the park by no
Oh
means,
yeah.
right?
Yep. And like whenever I took the role over, I had always been, a sales manager or a marketing specialist, never a director of
Right.
marketing. It's kind of one of those, it's a new role and they've got that patience level of you learning the ropes, but at the same time, they've still got these high expectations.
Yeah.
So I think, it's good because I think we all have a really, really good way of holding each other accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I'm sure that you saw that in the military too,
Oh
but
yeah.
that thought process translates directly to our business
Yep.
too, of, you know, you've got a job to do, you got to get it done.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and we had this discussion the other day, it's like, if you don't know, figure it out.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is, you need to figure it out and learn, because that's how they'll say that's how we learned,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta that's how they learned how to do, e-commerce. And granted, they had a little bit of experience back in, like, Jason's one of the co-owners too, but he's like, he'll tell you straight up, he's like, man, I had to learn.
Yeah.
And so it's a great, it's a great company to be involved with, but also to learn under as well, because they understand you're learning too, but there's
Mm-hmm.
still that accountability level
Of
of
course.
you have to do what you got to do, you
That
know.
and that's, like that's the thing that I find, and maybe I even said it myself sometimes, way back when I just didn't know the difference. But sometimes for an outsider looking in, you could say, man, like so had I no experience with running a business or anything like that, I could look at you and go, man, Kyle Jones is living the life. He's living like, how much better can you be? You're working for an ammo company. You get the because because people will say, well, he gets to hunt whenever he wants.
Oh yeah, that's
Right?
that's I get that one a lot.
Get to
Yeah,
hunt whenever he wants, get to go and go travel all these places and shoot and all this stuff. Could be no further from the truth,
yeah,
because you're working for a brand that has aspirations of succeeding.
yeah,
Hey, listen, yeah, you can go hunt on your own time, but you're not doing it on the company's time, right?
yeah.
Because that's just reality. That's just the way things work.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. I mean, it's, granted, we have some marketing trips that we do
Of
some filming
course.
at, but other than that, I mean, if we're out hunting every day, like, that's an issue, because then there's something,
Well, there's no
there's
work.
something that's
There's no
not
work.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's something that's not being done. Like,
that's right.
you know, I'd have for turkey season, I had quite a few people come in that were, guests that are friends of Apex or work for
Right.
Apex, or, we sponsor, or we partnered with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple days there where that's what I was doing. But
Right.
it's still like, hey, like, I come in from hunting, I still gotta get work done.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
not just the work that I do that day,
Yeah.
and that's, I think, um a big misconception too with a lot of the hunting industry. I'm sure you've seen it too. Is, I'm thankful and blessed to have the job that I do, but from 8 to 5, 8 to 6 o'clock at night, I'm doing hunting work,
Yeah.
right, while everybody else is doing
Hunting.
their regular work.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to 6 o'clock, I'm ready to shut off and just decompress, be a dad. But that's
Mm-hmm.
what everybody wants to talk hunting and
Right.
talk. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
get you.
it's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword, because that's when people start, DMing and
Right.
hitting you up, and it's like, man, like, I love hunting, but it is still is right now. It's still a job too.
That's right.
But it is a double-edged sword, big time.
100%. And listen, you cannot take away from the fact that a young family, I'm blessed now, and I've got some friends and I'll say to them, I'm like, hey, listen, I got a spot. So the rule is that I'm not allowed to go hunt by myself on
Yep.
water. My wife, absolutely, no, you're not going on water by yourself. Which
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I get it. So if I have a hunt and I reach out to people, I'm like, okay, listen, I got a hunt. We got some birds. Let's go do it. Well, I can't because I got, and then, so then the answer I get is I can't because I got to take the kid, I got to drop the kids off to school, or I got to do this and I got to do that. And they're like, man, I can't wait until I can be retired like you are. And I'm like, oh, don't wish your time away, bud.
Yeah.
Um, it was the same for me 10 years ago. Same deal. I was under the same thing, and you didn't have a family then, and you were going whenever you wanted. So it's just reverse. So, like, just take your time and enjoy whatever life is whatever life is served up for you at that moment. Just, it's not going to be that way forever. Just roll with the punches and get out when you can, and you
Yep.
know it'll, trust me, the birds aren't going nowhere. Um, but I tell you what, the memories with your kids and your family, those, you can never get them back. You can always go get more birds.
Oh yeah.
That's the way I look at it, anyways.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, but so we can get off the apex subject because we don't need to spend all our time talking about it. But I would be remiss for all of our fans if I didn't ask, are we going to see Apex in Canada? And
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yes.
You will. You will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we did, I didn't know that for turkeys you can't shoot smaller shot size than
Yeah.
sevens.
Yeah.
So that is something that we are currently working around.
Mm-hmm.
But for waterfowl, and then hopefully turkey next spring,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we will definitely, we're working as hard as we can to get it in there
Yeah.
now. So it definitely is something we've got in the works. So we
That's
will
awesome. That's
have it
awesome.
there. It might be set up to where we have to go to a store. I would love if we could get into um Canadian Waterfowl Supply. If you're
Yeah.
listening, Pat Heinrich,
Yep.
this.
Pat Ryan, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
So, so
We would love to have Apex represented in the store there. And then, I definitely would love to get up to that Toronto show that you had
yeah.
talked about, especially the refuge,
Yep.
the amount of people that you had turn up and come in and hang out. It's definitely something that we want to be a part of. Cause I mean, waterfowl, it's not just the U.S. thing. We want to be a part of the entire
North America. Yeah.
flyway. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
and that's important to us. And I think that if you guys saw the benefits of some of the shot that we put out, it would be pretty cool. So
Yeah.
it would be really, really cool to see. So, our blend, we've got a blend. It's the Mossy Oak Shadowgrass Habitat blend. It's the number 3 steel, number 8 TSS, and it is. I've shot a lot of different shot shells over the years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's by far my favorite, the meanest that you can find. I mean, we shot it at Old Squaw, we shot it at Big Honkers in January, February, and then we're shooting at ducks too, and it's hard to beat. It really is.
Wow.
So,
That's
but
impressive, man. I, I've, I'm pretty, like, I'm not the type of dude when it comes to hunting where, like, I don't have a lot of rules and specifications that I have to go with. So, like, shot size, I
yep,
shoot number 4. Like, I would shoot number 4s all season long.
yep,
And I shoot number 4s, and that's usually what I shoot. Late season, if I'm going to go on a honker hunt, I'll drop down to 2s,
yep,
whatever. But I've never shot a TSS load ever.
yep, yep,
Never ever shot it. But the more I hear about it, like when fellas are telling me, well, if you're normally shooting a 4, well, you can go to a 6 or a 7 on a TSS load. And I'm like,
Yep.
what?
I'm my favorite load that I'm a big 28 gauge guy.
Okay.
And love shooting my 28 gauge. It shoulders great, swings great, lightweight at ducks and at geese.
Yeah.
My favorite 28 gauge load is 2 3/4 number 8s. And
Wow.
and I'm not kidding, man. Like we're shooting geese, and granted I've hunted in Canada quite a few times, but I've not hunted in Canada late. But in Wyoming, we were hunting in February. It's -15 out, and we start shooting honkers at 15 yards, and then we're ending the swing at 30, 35, and it's just crumpling honkers at
Wow. That's
35
impressive,
yards.
man. That's impressive. And at that late part of the season, like lots of fat.
Yeah.
So,
With the TSS stuff, it's tungsten super shot. It's to classify it as tungsten super shot, it's got to be 18.1 grams per cc. Now, lead is like 11.2, 11.3. So if guys, that's like the number one thing we hear is, well, we used to hear it was like, oh man, I wish we could shoot ducks with lead still, because like the ducks just crumple, right? And so now you think of, okay, now we're shooting something that's quite a bit heavier than that, but also we're fitting double to triple the amount of pellets in that, so your pattern is just that much better, right? The pattern density is there, right? So for like example, now this is a turkey load. Our 20 gauge mossy oak greenleaf blend is a number 9 TSS and a number 10 TSS. Completely can't shoot in Canada. So but I just want to give you an example. There's in that 20 gauge load, there is 774 pellets. 20 gauge, 3-inch. Yes. What? Now here's the deal. You get ballistics gel. At we did this was a kind of a fun little test we did. We actually got ballistic gel molded like ducks. Right? Put them at 40 yards. You get, with a number 8 TSS, you get at 40 yards complete pass-throughs on ducks. Okay, so you got a lot of the conversations have been like, well, I'd like to shoot TSS, but I don't want to bite down on that many pellets. Well, it's literally proven you're not going to have that many pellets in there. And then the turkeys at 50 yards with a number 9, you're getting over 4 inches of penetration. And you got to think, well, a turkey's head is only 2.5 inches wide. So you're getting, you're not eating the turkey's head anyway. Granted, you might have a couple, you're putting a massive amount of pellets downrange at 20 to 40, maybe even 50 yards if you're, depending on what you want to shoot a turkey at. And you got to think, like, anywhere in that range, you're gonna get some pass-throughs on some stuff. You also might have a couple strays, but that's part of it. Happens with shooting BBs. So, but sorry, I didn't mean to get too deep in the weeds.
No, that's awesome
stuff, but
it's not for me, because I could care less about the technical stuff. But there's a ton of people that do, like, it's important to them to know that technical stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's, whenever I can go out in any day of the season, whether it's in September or February, even get into like late spec season in Oregon in like March, when there's no hesitation to take a 28 gauge 2 3/4 number 8 shot, there's a lot of confidence in the shell and the pattern and the load there.
I bet you I was 14 the last time I shot a 2 3/4 inch load. You know what I mean? Like, and that would have been, and at that time that would have been a Winchester Super X. But like, just on, like, I don't even know anybody that even shoots 2 3/4 anymore. But so, which is impressive. If you can say that a 2 3/4 2 3/4 inch gel, and I'll screw it up here, And you're getting the kinetic energy behind, late season honkers that you're able to drop at. But that's impressive.
Yeah.
It really is impressive.
We all, we all, and this is my thing is I'm a realist, right? Like,
Yeah.
we want to shoot ducks and geese at 10 to 15, 20 yards.
Yeah.
And that might be where the shot call starts, right?
Yeah.
But wind conditions, etc., can lead to some further
Long
shots
shot.
than,
Yeah.
30, 35, 40, 45, even a 50 yarder in there,
Yeah.
there's still a lot
Especially
of
if you're
confidence.
hunting teal.
Yeah, there's a lot of confidence there
Wow.
in the shot shell.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what, Carl, buddy? We've been on for about an hour.
Yeah.
And I know I say that so people that listen to the show, because I say it all the time, we could keep going on, but
Absolutely.
I think we can end it here, and then hopefully somewhere down the road you'd be willing to come back on and
Let's
continue and do a
let's hop
chat again.
on. Yeah, let's hop on, back right before goose season or something. As
Yeah, man.
you guys are kind of chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully have some pattern testing done on your end of
Yeah.
some apex loads, and we can talk about it
Yeah, of
and
course.
there.
Yeah, 100%. But I would love it. I can't thank you enough for coming on, because I know how busy you are. I really do. So I can't say it enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I got to thank Heath for hooking me up with a hat and t-shirt too.
Yeah.
So yeah, buddy, thanks so much. This was great. It really was a great episode. The hour went by pretty quick, and thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, dude, no problem, man. Anytime. We'll get back on here again. Later in the summer, early
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah, for sure.
And recap and talk goose hunting coming up.
Absolutely, dude.
I'll actually be in Canada for 2 weeks in Alberta this
Nice.
fall, so we can kind of hype that up a little bit if we want.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
early season honkers up there, man. I really appreciate you having me on, man.
No, absolutely. And listen, dude, like, it's an open invite. So open invite. If you want to come on the show, you need something that you want to get out there, fire
Yeah.
me a message, open invite. And the same, if you ever want to come up here and go hunting, just say, hey, Damien, listen, I'm going to be in your area. Can we pull together a hunt? Absolutely.
Well, I mean, dude, I was driving. Now that I think about it, when I was living in Western Kentucky, I would drive 8 hours, leave work on Friday night, get home Friday night, hunt Saturday, Sunday, leave Sunday, go back home. And you're only 4 hours away from me.
I'm
5
about
hours,
4 hours away from you.
Yeah. So not bad. We need to make it happen.
Absolutely.
Maybe do another one of these too, a third one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely, buddy. Awesome, man. Hey,
Cool, dude.
thanks so much for doing this, Kyle. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Union 0430. Although all the boys aren't here, we're not experts. We'll never pretend to be experts. We're just a bunch of dudes that love hunting, and we love hanging out with good people. Big love. Be nice to everybody. Stop being douchebags. Big love.